Court here in Archuleta County. I want to thank the recorder and the staff that was presented us with a chance to take a look at the Dominion machines. It was very well done, and Hazel, thank you very much. And I was real appreciative of the volunteers and everything that did that. And I can see how the process was done, and I was impressed. The problem that I have with that is that in spite of all the safeguards, Dominion, and we know what the word Dominion means, it means to control something. After the vote is done, Dominion comes in along with the recorder, they lock the door, and in private they put the thumb drives in, and then they turn on the internet, and off it goes. Now, I don't have a lot of faith in third-party technology. I'm a little concerned that this is not being witnessed by multiple people that are doing this to make sure that the information isn't being skewed, how do you pronounce it? Skewed, in one way or another. That's a tongue tie there. In one way or another. So, in spite of what was presented to us, which is I was very impressed by, I'm more concerned, more now than ever, that a third-party company comes in and has access to that information behind private doors, and they turn on the internet and that information is then transferred. Now, I don't know if you gentlemen are aware of that or not, but I have my druthers about that. I would encourage to do a hand count prior to it to verify that whenever the meeting comes in and they do turn on the internet, that then the information is correct. And it's like a double check. And that would be something that maybe you gentlemen should think about, because this is a very important election, and across the nation it's a very important election. So I'm not sure what your knowledge is of this Dominion, but when it's done behind closed doors and the internet's turned on, anything can happen, gentlemen, and that's the concern. Thank you. Our last meeting, I mentioned that, my signs were concerned, were being taken, and another one was taken again yesterday in front of the post office, which, okay, that's fine, I understand how the game was played, and some of them returned, and some of them weren't, and some of them were put back. But my concern is this: after I left that meeting, I went home, I came back, and the next day, which was kind of fun, I don't know if this was a sign or not, but this happened. This had been up for, 3-4 weeks, nothing was done to it, and all of a sudden now, this happens after the day I left here and said something of concern over signs. Is this a threat? Is this a sign that I'm supposed to be afraid and intimidated? No, this just ensures me even more now that I'm going to stand up and fight. This was improper, that this happened right after I left this meeting. I'm not accusing anybody of anything, but the coincidence is there that this took place that evening. So that this is protected free speech, and to have signs stolen and vandalized is a crime. And you gentlemen should be aware of that. Somebody is threatening me by doing that. So there you have it.
Wayne, you're not the to. All of our signs when I was running were stolen and they were dumped on somebody's private property.
Yep, but to be shot at, Ronnie, that's a different signal.
People shoot at my now.
Yeah, and so this was just coincidentally done the afternoon after I left here, so. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
My name is John Mayer. It's 12645 County Road, 326 in BoCC. I'm here representing my wife's family that owns property in the Upper Blanco Basin, and it has literally across County Road 326 from Brio Springs. It's a special event center, and all of the negative impact that has been caused to the residences around this particular area in it, what is a rural and ranching residential area, by the traffic, incredible amount of traffic coming through it, the dust related to that traffic, the noise from the incessant barking from the sled dogs during the day, the parties that go on with music continuing well after 10 o'clock at night, and then later spotlighting in the meadows literally across the road from where our house is. My wife's family has lived in this property originally as a residence for my wife's grandparents, and now because of obviously death through inheritance is a multi-family vacation, year-round vacation property. We used to be able to let our kids and grandkids walk down County Road 326 without any worry to pick berries or go to any of the various trailheads that lie off of that county road. We can't do that now. The incredible increase in traffic, multiple cars, dozens of cars, service trucks, and now even a bus travel down a gravel road at high speed, at least in my opinion. This creates safety problems for my kids and grandkids. You know, the other thing is the dust. It's not an air-conditioned house. We have to leave the windows open. Even though there has been a lot of mag chloride put down, it does not tamp the dust completely. The other thing is what we used to enjoy were the herds of deers and elk across the meadow. They're gone. During the day again, barking dogs. At night, music past 10 o'clock, a reasonable time, and then spot fighting. So this is materially and negatively impacting the property values of the residents and neighbors around the property. You know, we know personally a gentleman, who drove the road, the only access road into the Upper Blanco Basin, hundreds of times. One day, with a moment's inattention or confusion, he had an accident, had to be care flighted to Durango. Now imagine dozens of people leaving a party late or an event late at night, maybe impaired with alcohol, driving down an unfamiliar, unpaved, unlit road with very limited sight turns. Again, it being also a ranching area, there's cattle and deer all the time in the road. This is, again, a safety issue for not only the people who live along the road, but also the attendees. We understand that regulations are being considered to allow a special event center to continue a business and commercial activity in the middle of a ranching and residential area. We strongly oppose it. That's 3 minutes. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Ryan, signage.
Dale Schmidt, 472 Meadows Drive. Mine is in regards to signage. So with permission from the owner, I put up a sign for a specific candidate on Thursday, 9/22 at about 4 p.m., securing the sign directly into private fencing on Highway 160. Immediately the next morning, CDOT informed the owner they could not do this and the signs were removed. The private owner then said they didn't want to be further retaliated against. Both CDOT and land use regulations state signage can go on fencing so long as that fencing does not belong to the government or public utilities. This was confirmed by the CDOT employees. What would you say this is? Would you say this is unlawful voter intimidation and election interference? A yes or no? We, the people, would like to know who made this call to enforce a law that does not exist. Is this something you guys will be willing to get back to us on? The law referring to prohibited signage on public fencing only is CRS 2016-43-411. I would appreciate it if you guys could be back at a different date of what I just asked. Thank you.
May I make a brief comment? And CDOT removed that sign.
Correct.
Same here. And they said that it was within their right of way. Even though this was clearly a ranching sign on a ranch, that was quite a distance off of the roadway. And it was, I had 2 different signs and they were both removed.
So what are you saying? They did the right thing?
No, what I'm saying is, I feel your pain. I know exactly what you're saying and I empathize with you on this. And when I contacted CDOT, they said that was not allowed within their right of way.
Okay, so are you saying that we have the right to put the sign back up?
I'm not, I'm just giving you an example of my experience when I was also running for election. And it doesn't sound to me like it's isolated because they did the same to me. It sounds like the same to Commissioner Mays.
It did.
So I don't know if it's any one individual specifically, unless they just dislike all of us, which is possible.
Yeah, what I would like to know is it possible to find out who called, if anybody did call CDOT, because it was such a quick turnaround, and I understand it happened to you guys too, but what's going on in this election, it just seems a little interesting to me. So I was gonna go back out and see if that owner would be interested of for us to put it back up. If he's not, that's okay. I'm not into making any kind of anything. I just am pointing out something that it looks like there's some shenanigans going on. Don't know.
I think it depends on who the supervisor of that particular part of the highway is. You know.
Right, now,
I
he
know
told.
it didn't happen in other parts of the county, but it did in other parts of the county.
Yeah, and I talked to the guy and he said George just retired the day before. So I talked to him and he said he believes we have the right to do that. As long as it's not a county fence or a city fence or a CDOT fence, but if it's a private fence, you should be able to do it. That's all I'm doing.
I think if it's private fence, I'd have to agree with you on that. You know, and it can't be in the right of way. So it cannot be outside of that private fence. It's
It
either
can be
on
on.
it or inside of it.
He said it could be on the outside of the fence, as long as it's his fence. I'm just going on what I've done.
I don't know about that. I know if it's on the outside of the fence and in the right of way, you can't do
Yeah,
it.
but
Same
if
on the
it's-
county. You
But
can't do it in the
the
county.
property
right of way or the
line,
state.
from what I understand, and go to that CRS
Yeah,
411,
change.
it's the outside of the sign or the fence, as long as it's not CDOT, as long as it's private fence, which it is, I believe it is, that's the issue.
See, and I think you could put it on the fence, but not outside of it. Only within that person's property,
Right.
Correct.
but not right away to see
Right.
out.
So I would like to find out, if it's possible, how that came down, just for future.
Mr. Smith, and I expect they have a dispatch, so I'm guessing CDOT has a dispatching. I don't know how else they would receive calls, but I would expect if there's a record of someone calling in to complain about it, that's where it would lie.
Yeah,
Just a thought on that.
right.
So,
Sounds good.
that's within CDOT's purview, so it may be worth another phone call.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioners. I want to say how much I appreciate the practice of having public comments, which I think is a real affirmative practice and will contributes tremendously to the public welfare. I wanted to comment on, Jim Garrett, 164 Appaloosa Circle in Pagosa. So I want to comment on the ballot question regarding the tax proposal. And I understand that it's been resolved that half of that will go to, at least half of that will go to roads. And I certainly want to say that we need money for roads. Every neighborhood has legitimate complaints, I would suggest. I don't think I stand on any independent footing in that regard, but I would like to talk about Piedra Road. Piedra Road is a disaster waiting to happen. It's narrow, it's steep, it's curvy. If there's any snow, there's going to be cars in the ditch, probably every couple hundred yards, on both sides, by the way. Much of the surface currently is poor, and there are runners and walkers who want to go along the roadway, and there's no place for them. They have to be in the pavement. It's really only, I think clearly, a matter of time before that is going to produce a major accident with fatalities. I just think that this county needs to address that. It's a problem and it has to be solved. And that's, like I said, that's the tip of the iceberg. There's lots of others. That's just the most pressing one, it seems to me. There are endless other community needs too. 7 years ago, the town and the county designated 3 priorities: housing, broadband, and early childhood education. I don't have to tell you, the costs for those things have risen constantly, every year. In order to be able to supply the community what it needs in those regards, we need revenues. We don't get what we want by complaining, or wishing, or hoping. It takes money, it takes tax revenues. The one thing that's really good obviously about sales tax is that a lot of that is going to come out of the pockets of those people who come into our community and want to spend money because they're on vacation. I mean, that's just a fact of life, and it's a real benefit to our entire community. Everyone in this community benefits every time those tourists come in and spend a buck. Sales tax increase, my guess is, based on my spending level, might cost me, the proposed increase might cost me maybe $120 a year, based on what I spend locally. I'd happily spend that to see the roadways improved. Nobody likes to see money going out, but we need it. Thanks so much.
Monts McAllister, 7 Gallup Court here in Pagosa Springs. Thanks, commissioners, for letting us talk. You know, number one, I've always been against taxes. I've never wanted the taxes spent unwisely. So I'd like to see a lot of accountability of that. So that's really why I am for this tax on 1A. It's because 50% of it is designated for our roads. And I am tired of having to get alignments, getting ball joints replaced, and, you know, I have had people that have had tires popped. I haven't had one of those done. Well, I have, but that's up on Chimney Rock. That's not your fault. So we need some improvement here, and the whole aspect of the tax and the designation, most of this is going to come from the tourists. I know a lot of the naysayers say, no, it's coming from us. And if we wanted to as a county, we could make sure that we give anybody that needs a break a tax exempt on that basic food tax item. But, you know, we have never looked at that. So if you look back at our histories in the paper, I love reading those things of the 25, 50, 75, 100 years from now. It was a lot of innovators, it was a lot of people that did things with their own money, but it also took a lot of money. And it's time we get the tourists paying for most of our infrastructure, or a lot of our infrastructure. So that's why I'm for this tax. If we could just, you know, work together, make sure that we are accountable for this money taken in versus having it spent unwisely. Thanks.
Thank you.